The great hall of Eric's village was abuzz with anticipation and unease as the entire community gathered to hear the words of Ragnar, the old and revered seer. Torches flickered along the walls, casting long shadows that danced across the rough-hewn timbers of the roof, while the fire crackled and spat in the massive hearth, keeping the frigid air at bay. Eric the Red, a formidable Viking warrior with a heart seeking redemption, stood at the center of the hall, his broad shoulders squared and his gaze fixed on Ragnar as he slowly made his way towards the throne. The seer's hooded eyes seemed to peer into the depths of Eric's soul, and as Ragnar finally took his seat, the entire village held its breath. Eric's village is a robust community nestled in a deep fjord, shielded by towering cliffs that rise like sentinels from the water's edge. The heart of the village is the longhouse, a grand structure with a thatched roof that slopes down to the earth, its walls adorned with intricate carvings of gods and beasts. Smoke curls lazily from the central hearth, a beacon of warmth against the chill of the Nordic air. Surrounding the longhouse are clusters of wooden homes, each built with expert craftsmanship to withstand the harsh elements. The village is alive with the sounds of daily life, the clanging of the blacksmith's hammer, the creak of oars from the docks where longships bob gently, and the distant bleating of sheep from the nearby pastures. At the water's edge, the shipyard is a hive of activity, where skilled shipwrights construct and repair the mighty vessels that are the lifeblood of Viking exploration and trade. The air is tinged with the scent of tar and fresh timber, and the horizon is a constant reminder of the vast, uncharted waters that beckon to the adventurous. Eric's village is not only a place of strength and industry but also a community bound by deep ties of kinship and tradition, where the sagas of old are passed down and the spirits of ancestors are revered. It is a place where the Viking spirit thrives, fierce and unyielding as the craggy landscape that cradles it. "I have seen a great storm," Ragnar began in a rasping voice. "So terrible that it will make even the most brutal of sea voyages seem like a mere child's game. It will ravage our lands, destroy our crops, and leave our people hungry and cold. Only those who survive the storm will find safety." His words sent a shiver down Eric's spine, for he knew that Ragnar had never before spoken of such a thing. Astrid, Eric's daughter and a skilled shield maiden with a secret gift of prophecy, looked on with wide eyes, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and determination. Bjorn Ironside, Eric's loyal friend and a cunning strategist, gripped the hilt of his sword, prepared for whatever might come. The silence in the hall was broken only by the crackling of the fire, and the sound of the wind howling outside, as if eager to warn them of the coming storm. Eric's mind raced as he considered their options, aware that he must make a decision that would affect not only his family, but the entire village. Should they stay and face the storm, hoping that the gods would spare them? Or should they set sail in search of a new home, trusting in their own wits and skills to survive the treacherous journey across the open waters? The fate of their people hung in the balance, and the choice lay with Eric the Red. As if sensing his indecision, Astrid stepped forward, her voice steady and strong. "Father, we must listen to Ragnar's words. The storm is coming, and we cannot afford to be caught unprepared. We must find a new home, where we can live in peace and safety." Bjorn Ironside nodded in agreement, adding, "And I, for one, would follow you into the depths of hell itself if it meant protecting those I hold dear." Eric looked at his daughter and his friend, their faces etched with determination and courage. He knew that they were right. They had no choice but to trust in each other and in their own abilities to survive. With a heavy heart, he turned to address the crowd. "Very well, my friends and kin. It seems that our fate has been sealed. We will journey forth in search of a new home, and together we will face whatever challenges the gods see fit to throw our way. But know this, I will not lead you to safety unless I am certain that we will all reach it." The villagers murmured their assent, their faces solemn but resolute. As they began to disperse, preparing for the long journey ahead, Eric leaned in close to Astrid and Bjorn, speaking softly so that only they could hear. "We must move swiftly and silently," he said. "For not only must we outrun the storm, but also the rival clans who will no doubt seek to take advantage of our weakness. Our survival depends upon it." Together, the three of them walked out of the great hall, their footsteps echoing through the village as they made their final preparations for the voyage that would determine the fate of them all. Eric the Red gathered his most trusted men around him, a group of hardened warriors and skilled sailors who had followed him on countless adventures. He spoke to them candidly, laying out his plans for the journey and stressing the importance of discipline and unity. "We must sail north, my friends," he said, "for it is there that we will find a new land ripe for the taking. But the journey will not be easy, and we must be ready to face any obstacle that stands in our way." The men nodded in agreement, their eyes shining with determination and pride. Astrid the Shield Maiden spent her time with the women and children of the village, imparting her knowledge of herbalism and first aid. She knew that they would need to be self-sufficient during their journey, and she worked tirelessly to ensure that everyone was prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. Her wisdom and strength were an inspiration to all who knew her. Bjorn Ironside, meanwhile, oversaw the loading of the ships, supervising a crew of sturdy sailors as they carefully packed the holds with provisions and supplies. He checked and double-checked everything, ensuring that nothing was left to chance. As he worked, he could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down upon him, but he refused to let it break his focus. They could not afford even the slightest mistake. Finally, as the last rays of the setting sun painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, the village gathered on the shore, watching as the three ships were pushed out to sea by the gentle lapping of the waves. Eric the Red stood at the prow of his ship, his hands gripping the wooden rail tightly as he gazed out into the distance, searching for any sign of the storm that Ragnar had foretold. Behind him, Astrid and Bjorn stood side by side, their hearts filled with hope and determination. 4 days, the journey was uneventful. The winds were favorable, and the ships sailed swiftly northward, leaving the familiar territory of Greenland further and further behind them. As they ventured into the unknown, the crew grew more and more anxious, their eyes constantly scanning the horizon for any sign of the storm that they knew must be coming. Eric the Red did his best to reassure them, but he could not help but feel a sense of foreboding himself. It was on the 6th day that the clouds finally began to gather, darkening the sky and blocking out the sun. The winds picked up, howling through the rigging and whipping the waves into a frenzy. Eric signaled for the crew to prepare for the storm, and they scrambled into action, securing the sails and lashing themselves to the mast. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the men braced themselves, knowing that the worst was yet to come. The storm raged for 3 days and 3 nights, buffeting the ships mercilessly and testing the mettle of the crew to its very limits. Eric the Red fought to keep control of his ship, using all of his skills as a sailor and a warrior to navigate the treacherous waters. Astrid the Shield Maiden tended to the injured, her knowledge of herbalism proving invaluable in treating the wounds and sicknesses that plagued the crew. Bjorn Ironside fought valiantly alongside his men, his strategic mind always seeking ways to turn the tide in their favor. As the storm finally began to abate, the crew emerged from below deck, weary but alive. They had survived the worst that the gods could throw at them, and now they could turn their attention to finding a new home. Eric the Red scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of land. Finally, he spotted a distant speck on the horizon, its peaks hidden behind a veil of clouds. With renewed hope in their hearts, they set sail once more, determined to reach the promised land and build a new life for themselves. As they drew closer to the shore, the land revealed itself to be a lush and verdant island, teeming with life. The crew cheered as they saw towering forests, rolling hills, and sparkling rivers. Eric the Red steered the ship towards a sheltered cove, where they could safely beach the vessel and begin the process of making camp. As the ship grounded on the sandy shore, the men leapt overboard, eager to set foot on solid ground once more. Astrid the Shield Maiden led the way inland, guiding the crew to a gentle slope where they could set up their tents. Bjorn Ironside worked alongside the sailors, helping them unload the ships and transport the supplies to the new camp. The air was thick with the scent of pine and the sounds of birdsong, and the men could feel the warmth of the sun on their faces as they labored. As they worked, they began to explore their surroundings further, venturing deeper into the forest and along the banks of the rivers. They soon discovered that the island was teeming with wildlife, from deer and elk to fish and fowl. Astrid and Bjorn taught the crew how to hunt and fish, ensuring that they would not go hungry in this new land. They also found signs of native peoples, leading them to believe that they were not alone on this island. Days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, as the colony slowly took shape. The sailors built huts and shelters, raised crops and livestock, and established trade routes with the native tribes. Eric the Red, now known as Eric the Peacemaker, worked tirelessly to maintain peace and prosperity among all who lived on the island. Astrid the Shield Maiden continued to care for the sick and wounded, her wisdom and compassion earning her the respect and affection of everyone she met. And Bjorn Ironside, now recognized as a skilled leader and strategist, guided the colony through times of both peace and conflict, ensuring that it would thrive for generations to come. The years passed, and the colony grew, becoming a thriving community that would one day be known as Vinland. As the years turned into decades, and the decades into centuries, the legend of Eric the Red, Astrid the Shield Maiden, and Bjorn Ironside faded into myth and legend, their names spoken only in whispers and hushed tones around campfires. But the legacy they left behind lived on, echoing through the generations that followed, a testament to the courage, determination, and resilience of those who dared to carve out a new life in the wilderness. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. A special shout out to BeatlesBark2184 for requesting this story.